Son of LeBron James. He goes by Bronny. The good news is he is out of the ICU in in stable condition as you wake up this morning. But the 18-year-old suffered cardiac arrest during a basketball workout at the University of Southern California yesterday.
For more on this, let's welcome an internist for Custom Care Medical, Dr. Frank Contessessa. Dr. Frank, I saw this news yesterday. It was reported. We're so happy that he's healing and on the mend. But why is a freshman in college going into cardiac arrest?
Well, good morning, Rob and Allison, and wonderful news this morning on the update. Very happy to hear that he's doing well. So, every so often you do hear these stories. A young, healthy athlete collapses. Traditionally, we would usually blame this on something called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is a thickening of the muscle of the heart. It's congenital. It's very difficult to detect, and when an athlete gets into a certain strenuous activity, they can collapse and pass out. Thankfully, this always happened very rarely. I remember growing up when I was a kid, a boy in the next town over, and I could tell you his name because it was 40 years ago, but I could tell you his name because it was a relatively rare event. It does seem like these things are happening a bit more frequently, and there's a debate on why that's happening. But I think we have to have that debate because it does seem to be happening more frequently.
Yeah, and I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I think given what we've learned over the last 3 years dealing with COVID, all of a sudden, you start to question. Every time this happens, I saw it yesterday and I was like, oh boy, here we go again. I don't want to have that impulse, and I certainly don't want it to be my first impulse. But do you think there could be a connection?
I do. I think there could be. And here's why. The FDA, Pfizer, the U.S. military, all have found that the vaccines, the mRNA vaccines in particular, can cause myocarditis, which is an inflammation of the muscle of the heart. It's debatable on the rate that happens. It's debatable on the severity. But we know that this happens. Everybody admits that now. So when you have something like this happen, we have to at least start to ask the question. The problem is when you ask the question, you immediately get slapped down. Elon Musk yesterday made a comment on Twitter, and he was attacked. He was savagely attacked for even asking the question. He was ridiculed for even asking the question. So at some point, and this is really important, we're dealing with the health of our youth. And the question is, did we put them at risk by giving them something that may have given them more of a risk of an adverse event than the illness we were trying to protect them from in the first place? I don't know the final answer on this, but I know that there's enough smoke there to question whether there's a fire, because there's enough information out there. There's a really great study from Israel, from the Ministry of Health in Israel, with good data to suggest that this is a possibility. We have to at least get a good answer on this question. We have to be able to have that debate. Yeah, because while it seems rare, and as you said it's rare, we do continue to hear about these types of stories with these young, healthy athletes. Are doctors, is somebody in the government tracking this? Are they tracking and saying, okay, this person of this age had a heart attack or went into cardiac arrest and had the vaccine or didn't have the vaccine? Is there going to be data that we can look at 5 to 10 years from now to look at this? I hope there is. The problem is it's very difficult to determine causality. First of all, when you hear about a story like this, the question everybody's asking is, well, did he have the vaccine? How many doses did he have? When did he have them?
Right.
And nobody seems to have the answers to those questions. It seems like we're not allowed to ask those questions. That's their personal information.
Dr. Frank,
okay, but
just a quick one about, we're super tight on time. Do you think that athletes will now be pre-screened, maybe with an echocardiogram or an EKG, just to see if they've got any preconditions for something like this? Because again, you're talking about an 18-year-old with no history of this happening before, and he drops on the floor yesterday at basketball practice at USC. It's really scary stuff. Maybe we could have prevented it.
I hope that we start to see something like that. Echocardiograms are the way to look for this. It's becoming easier and easier and cheaper to do echoes. But, there's hundreds of thousands of athletes in this country. There's high school athletes, there's college athletes, professional athletes.
Yeah.
Difficult to do it on that level, but I hope we can.
Well, we're thinking about Bronny. We hope that he can get back on the basketball court soon. Dr. Frank, thanks so much for breaking that down for us and being with us this morning. We appreciate it.